Morning, everybody. Sorry that these are going to be a little bit later. I just wrapped up all of my meetings, so I should be available back on Seesaw and through these videos. So I wanted to take you through the reading and grammar activities for this week. Our choice boards, you'll notice, are down to 6 categories, and if you look on the suggested pacing guide here, I do leave open Friday for a Friday letter, and I do suggest an activity for math. However, if you go to the checklist over here, you'll notice that I don't have any assigned, no, sorry about that. You'll notice that I don't have any reading activity choice board or math activity choice board. So I really want to make sure that I'm giving you the time that you need to get your iReady complete. So I'm leaving that open for Friday. Obviously, if you want to do the suggested activity or you want to continue with an additional ELA activity, or you want to just use it to do some quizzes or some of the videos or things like that, or maybe you're really excited about informational text and you want to do all of the categories that go with it. But the expectation for my class personally is going to be that you're doing 4 of those activities in both reading and in math. So we'll go to math a little bit later, but I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that the expectation here is that there are 4 activities completed, so you have 1 a day. Everything again on Seesaw is optional. Today, for example, we actually did post this page onto Seesaw, so if you want to do it on Seesaw, it is there, so you don't have to print it out. We also linked this fluency activity as well. So I wanted to take just a couple minutes and go over kind of the ELA resources for the week, as well as the activity for today that I selected. So we'll come back to this. So this is, again, my suggested week at a glance. So it's not required that you do A and E today. I do think that it is a good idea to do some fluency every single day. Make sure that you're reading out loud. And as we're reading fluently, we want to practice daily the same text so that we can see how we improve throughout the week. If you're reading your chapter books out loud and things like that, then that's fine too. However, making sure that we're repeating words that we're familiar with can really help us strengthen our fluent reading out loud. I also linked the grammar skill for this week as well. Most of the grammar skills that we are working on are review skills. However, we're picking the ones that tend to be the trickiest. So this week we're working with possessive nouns without apostrophe S, which can be tricky. So I want to remind you about our quizzes. Quizzes, if you go to joinmyquiz.com, it's going to ask you to enter in this code, and then it's going to have strictly question-based and multiple choice responses. So it's a quick, immediate yes or no, I got it, I didn't get it. And I was actually thinking about hosting a live quizzes where I will send out a link with what quiz we are going to do, and I sent out on the schedule a time. So at 10 o'clock, let's say, for example, we're going to do the glossary code. I'll send out the glossary code, make sure that this one is working, or maybe it'll be a different one, and I will send out that code via Teams, and then everybody will log on, and then we'll click start once we have everybody in, and then everybody will be competing at the same time, and then we'll do a live lesson where we kind of go over the results and things like that. So that's another optional thing that I was thinking of just to reconnect us, but I did want to remind you of this quizzes. This is a great way for you, again, to have quick, immediate feedback on your responses. So that's posted on the additional resources tab. And then as well as all of these. So for example, if you're looking for something on possessive nouns, there are 2 things down here. There are 2 YouTube videos, a Brain Pop Junior, and a YouTube video, and then a Nearpod. If there is a Nearpod code, like for example, when we get to the persuasive writing one tomorrow, I'm going to definitely suggest that you use this one because it is going to talk about persuasive writing using VR in this particular one. Some of our Nearpod codes are really cool because they also have videos linked in, and they also have articles linked in, and they have questions and quizzes and opportunities for the students to draw and show what they know. So make sure that you're checking those out, especially for possessive nouns, because this is a review skill. It's putting that apostrophe S, or if we have more than one, we're talking about focusing on singular possessives, but have that conversation about what to do when you have a plural possessive. We did spend some time in the year talking about the difference between a plural, which means more than one, and possessive noun, which means showing ownership. So versus saying there are two dogs running down the street and that's my dog's collar. So there's a difference there. The first one I'm talking about having more than one. There's two dogs running down the street. So that's that plural adding the S. And then my dog's collar, it belongs to him. So I add that apostrophe S. So it is a tricky skill to remember, especially whether we're adding an S, an ES, an apostrophe S, or an S apostrophe. There's so many rules to learn, especially as a second grader. So definitely hit up this Brain Pop Junior to review before you do that attached sheet today. So again, if you remember, we have all of our resources linked in one document for you this week, as well as separated based on the subject on the website. So if you prefer it separated, like on the website, and you just want to pull up the ELA one, that's there, or you have the entire document that I sent you this morning. So for grammar, the activity A, it is this sheet here. Most of them are singular possessives. However, I did notice down here, number 9 is referencing a plural possessive, and all of these should be possessive. So where is the red marker lid? We might use that in context, but it is looking for where is the red markers lid with that apostrophe S. So make sure that you're going through that. Also recognize that there are quite a few that are talking about proper nouns. So make sure that you're capitalizing those when you're putting them in the blanks here as well. And then if you're looking at the fluency activity this week, it's talking about actor reading. And actor reading is just a fun way to practice our fluency in a different way. You'll read this, it's just like last week where you'll read the passage 1 minute. I loved, shout out to Olivia. Olivia posted one each day. So she decided to take this activity and read it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I believe Friday as well. And you could see she was excited as she got to more and more words and she became more fluid in her reading. And so if you want to do this passage, each day and share that, that's a great idea. I did link, as I said, the passage straight into Seesaw. So if you want to do the activity on Seesaw, it's already linked there. Or if you just want to print it out and take a video, that's great. But it's reading it in a different way each time. For example, you could read with different feelings. So you could read really happy and excited, or you can read it like you're really angry and you're mad. Or you can talk about it like you're really sad. Or you could be like a mouse and or you could read it like a cat, add some hisses in there. I think I added monster reading is always a favorite one, or you could do a baby voice or an old grandpa voice, or just different ways to practice it and be creative in your reading. Do this at least 3 times, it says, and read with a different expression each time. So read it 3 times this week or read it 3 times today. It's up to you. And then reviewing that EE and EA sound, those word patterns, knowing that that makes we always want to be careful. We always say it's going to make most of our words, almost all of our words, with that EE or EA pattern is going to have the long E. We know the English language can be very tricky, and we know that there are oftentimes exceptions to every rule. So we always be careful about how we specify that. But we know that most of the time when we see this EE, this double E, or this EA, that double vowel together, the first one says the name of the vowel. So we hear that long E sound. But recognizing to see if you can see any patterns as far as how to determine whether we use the EE or EA. Sometimes there's a rule, sometimes they're not. Again, we know it's tricky. So you just got to do the best that you can. But I hope that that was helpful. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that all of the activities are linked along the side here. I'm not sure what it looks like on your format, how there are, but we did try to label each with a letter that matched in the color of the activity. So when we get down to math later, you'll see that we're in a yellow category, so we tried to match the letters to be yellow. We tried to make it a little bit more streamlined this week and a little bit more simple for you as well. I also wanted to show you, the students are very familiar with the checklist format. For some students, this works amazingly well. For other students, it's overwhelming because it's looking at so much information at once that maybe perhaps you just, you can take a screenshot or use the snipping tool, and just select a section of it, or you can copy and paste the text on it and put it into your own document and just focus on just what you want them to complete for Monday. So for must complete, I would really like you to check that morning message on Seesaw every day if possible. I'd really like you to be reading every day as well. The reading activity choice board, choose one and choose one here. You can also write that activity. So if I did A, I could write a letter A next to that so they know that that's the one that I want them to complete. Remember that this is all that's required is 1 hour, 1 hour daily, and we do want them getting outside. We do want them playing. We do want them to be creative and learn things outside of just our curriculum. So I'll be posting some resources with some ramp activities that we were going to be doing just to explore some fun things in science and art projects that we see. And then suggested, I noticed that some of you guys are either taking iReady and iRead to the extremes. Either you're doing it for hour plus a day, or you're doing 25 lessons or something like that, which is great, but it's so much technology time that I split it up so that you're doing iRead and iReady one day and iReady Math the other day. And then on Friday, you want to make sure that you're doing the iReady reading lesson and the iReady Math lesson. So that's kind of what's your must do on Friday, and notice that's not down here. I did get a question about Flipgrid. Are we going to do Flipgrid again? Since it was kind of overwhelming with everything going on, I decided to make Flipgrid a Friday thing. So I'll talk more about that later in the week. I also put on the suggested watching these videos, checking the Seesaw Activities tab. Remember, it just says check. It doesn't say complete the Seesaw Activities. Those are just resources to help you. And then on Monday, we'll have our live YouTube Q&A. Just like last week, it seemed to work really well for extra questions and things like that as they come up. And then down here, we'll have our Microsoft Teams reading class at 10 o'clock. And then this live quizzes I'll talk more about in our Microsoft Teams meeting. And then we'll have our Microsoft Teams check-in at 12 on Friday. In terms of small groups and things like that, extra office hours, things like that, I am going to open up some of those. I'm just kind of playing around with our schedules and with your schedules and all the conferences that I've got going on with teams and administrators and things like that. It's just making sure that we can collaborate as best as we can. And then I did add, our students are used to having this at the bottom of their checklist, which is all the things that they can do if they finish their work early. So I just went and created as many different ideas as I could come up with, and they're just optional things that can spark some ideas for you guys to come up with of what to do if you're finished early. So I hope that you guys are having a great start to your morning, and I will be back in just a little bit to share a math video with you. It's one of my favorite activities about Kandinsky and his art, and incorporating art into our math lessons is super important to me, and I'd love to share more about that with you. So see you soon.